Jake Martinez felt his stomach twist with hunger as he pushed through the thick green plants. His legs shook with each step. 3 days had passed since the transport ship crashed on this strange world. 3 days without food. 3 days without. Hearing from his team, the trees around him looked wrong. Their bark was purple and smooth like glass. The leaves made soft singing sounds when the wind touched them. Everything here was alien and beautiful and dangerous. Jake had seen things. Moving in the shadows, things that watched him with too many eyes. He stopped and listened. His heart beat fast in his chest. Somewhere behind him, a branch snapped. Jake turned around but saw nothing. Just more purple trees and singing leaves. But he knew something was following him. Something had been following him since yesterday. Jake looked at his hands. They were dirty and cut from climbing through the crashed ship. His clothes were torn. His hair was messy. He looked like a wild man. 3 days ago, he had been Dr. Jake Martinez, a scientist studying alien worlds. Now he was just a hungry man, trying not to die. The emergency beacon in his pocket stayed quiet. No rescue ships were coming. His team was scattered across this world, if they were even alive. Jake had found pieces of the transport ship spread across miles of forest. Some pieces were buried deep in the ground. Others hung from the tall trees. Like metal fruit, a small sound made him freeze. There, between 2 purple trees, something moved. Jake watched it carefully. It was about the size of a rabbit but covered in fur that changed colors like oil on water. The creature had 6 legs and big round eyes. It was eating something that looked like berries. Jake's stomach made a loud noise. He was so hungry he could barely think straight. The creature looked up at him with its big eyes. It did not seem afraid. Maybe animals on this world had never seen humans before. Maybe they did not know to be scared. Jake looked around for something to use as a weapon. He found a broken branch about 3 feet long. One end was sharp where it had broken off from the tree. Near his feet, he saw a piece of metal from the crashed ship. It was thin and sharp like a knife blade. His hands worked without thinking. He tied the metal piece to the sharp end of the branch using strips of cloth from his torn shirt. It was not pretty, but it would work. The spear felt heavy in his hands. It reminded him of pictures he had seen in old books about cavemen. The creature was still eating berries. It had not moved far from where Jake first saw it. Jake took a step forward. The creature looked at him again, but did not run. Jake took another step. His heart was beating so fast he could hear it in his ears. He raised the spear above his head. The creature finally seemed to understand danger. It started to move away, but not fast enough. Jake was ready to throw the spear when something happened that changed everything. A voice spoke inside his head. Not his own voice, something else. Something that felt old and cold and hungry. Curious, the voice said. Jake could not tell if it was male or female. It did not sound human at all. You fashion tools from nothing. You hunt with desperation born of survival, Jake froze. The spear was still raised above his head. The creature with the changing fur sat perfectly still, as if it was also listening to the voice. Everything in the forest became quiet. Even the singing leaves stopped their music. What are you? Jake whispered. The voice seemed to taste his fear. Jake could feel something huge and invisible moving around him. The air grew cold even though the sun was still shining through the purple trees. I am what comes for all thinking beings, the voice said. I am the end of civilizations. I am the hunger that swallows worlds. Jake's hands began to shake. The spear felt heavier than before. He looked around but could not see anything except trees and plants and the small creature that was still frozen in place. You are human, the voice continued. I know your kind. I have studied your species for some time. You came from a small blue world. You learned to make fire. You learned to hunt. You learned to build cities and ships that fly between stars. How? Do you know about Earth? Jake asked. I know about all worlds, the voice said. I have been to 1,000 planets. I have tasted the thoughts of 1,000,000 beings. Some were stronger than you. Some were smarter, some lived longer. All of them are gone now. Jake felt something cold touch his mind. It was like having ice water poured directly into his thoughts. He could feel the thing reading his memories. It saw his childhood on Earth. It saw his time in school learning about science. It saw his first trip to another world. It saw his fear when the transport ship started to fall from the sky. Interesting. The voice said, "You feel fear, but you do not run. You are hungry, but you do not beg. You are alone, but you do not despair. Your kind has potential. What do you want from me?" Jake asked. The voice laughed. It was a sound like breaking glass mixed with dying screams. Jake felt his knees go weak. He had to lean on the spear to stay standing. "I want to taste your thoughts." "As you die," the voice said, "I want to feel your hope turn to despair. I want to drink your intelligence and add it to my collection. You see, human, I am what you might call a collector. I collect the essence of thinking beings. And your kind is now on the menu." Jake felt something move in the shadows between the trees. Something big. Something that made the purple bark crack. And the singing leaves fall silent. The creature with the changing fur suddenly ran away, moving faster than Jake thought possible. "You cannot see me yet," the voice said. "But I can see you. I can see your fear. I can see your hunger. I can see your hope that someone will come to rescue you." "No one is coming, human? Your transport ship sent no signal before it crashed. Your people think you are dead. You are alone with me." Jake gripped the spear tighter. His hands were sweating. Now he could feel his heart beating so hard it hurt his chest. But something else was growing inside him. Something that felt hot and angry and stubborn. "Maybe I am alone," Jake said. "Maybe no one is coming to save me, but I am not dead yet." The voice paused. Jake felt surprise coming from the invisible thing in the shadows. "You threaten me with a stick and a piece of metal?" the voice asked. "You are nothing. You are meat. You are food." "Maybe," Jake said. "But I am meat that fights back." The voice laughed again, but this time it sounded different. Not as sure of itself. "We shall see, human. We shall see how long you fight before you break. I have time. I have all the time in the universe. And when you finally give up, when you finally accept that you cannot win, I will be there to taste your defeat." The cold feeling in Jake's mind disappeared. The forest sound slowly returned. The singing. Leaves started their music again. But Jake knew the thing was still there, watching him from the shadows. He looked at the spear in his hands. 3 days ago, he had been a scientist with computers and machines and knowledge. Now he was a caveman with a stick and a piece of metal. But he was still alive. He was still fighting, and he was not going to give up. Not today. Not ever. Jake ran through the forest as fast as his weak legs could carry him. The spear bounced in his hand with each step. Behind him he could hear something large moving through the trees. It did not try to be quiet. It wanted him to know it was following. The voice had been silent for 2 hours, but Jake could still feel it watching him. Sometimes he caught glimpses of something massive between the purple trees, a shadow that moved wrong, a shape that hurt his eyes to look at directly. Jake's lungs burned. His stomach cramped with hunger, but he kept running. He had to find the others. He had to warn them about the thing that hunted them. The sun was getting low when Jake finally saw smoke rising above the trees. Someone had built a fire. Jake changed direction and ran toward the smoke. His heart felt lighter. He was not alone anymore. He found them in a small clearing near the twisted remains of the transport ship's rear section. 2 people sat around a small fire made from broken ship parts. Jake almost cried when he saw them. "Lisa! Pete!" Jake called out as he stumbled into the clearing. Dr. Lisa Wong looked up from the fire. She was a small woman with short black hair and smart eyes. Her clothes were dirty and torn like Jake's. She had cuts on her arms and face, but she was alive. "Jake!" Lisa jumped up and ran to him. "We thought you were dead. We've been waiting here for 2 days. Pete Johnson stood up more slowly. He was a big man with broad shoulders and careful eyes. He had been the security chief for their research team. His uniform was ripped, but he still looked tough and ready for trouble. "Good to see you in one piece," Pete said. He looked at the crude spear in Jake's hands. Been hunting? We need to talk, Jake said. He sat down heavily by the fire. Something is wrong with this place. Something dangerous. Lisa handed him a small piece of cooked meat. We found some of those six-legged rabbit things. They're not bad if you cook them right. Jake took the meat but did not eat it yet. Listen to me, there's something else on this world. Something that hunts intelligent beings. It spoke to me. Pete raised an eyebrow. Spoke to you? How? In my head. Like thoughts, but not my thoughts. Jake told them everything about the voice and what it had said. He watched their faces change as he talked. Lisa's scientific mind started working. A telepathic species. That's fascinating. Did you get any sense of its physical form? It's big, Jake said, and it's been watching us since we crashed. Maybe. Before that, Pete checked his weapon. It was a standard security plasma rifle, but it looked small and weak in his hands. How many shots you think I got left in this thing? Maybe 20, Lisa said. We need to be smart about this. Jake finally ate the meat Lisa had given him. It tasted strange but good. His stomach stopped hurting so much. The thing said it has been to 1,000 worlds. It eats intelligent species. It collects their thoughts and memories. A predator that feeds on consciousness, Lisa said. That's terrifying. But also scientifically incredible. Pete was less excited. Can we kill it? I don't know, Jake said. It seemed very confident, like it had done this many times before. The fire crackled between them. Around the clearing, the purple trees swayed in the wind. Their leaves made soft singing sounds. It would have been peaceful if not for the feeling of being watched. We need to understand what we're dealing with, Lisa said. She pulled out a small device that looked like a tablet. I've been scanning the area. This world has some very strange energy readings. She showed them the screen. Jake could see wave patterns and numbers that meant nothing to him, but Lisa's face was serious. There are structures under the ground, she said. Big ones. They go down for miles. This might not be a natural world. What do you mean? Pete asked. I mean, this place might be artificial, built by something. Maybe built as a trap. Jake felt cold despite the warm fire. A trap for what? For ships like ours, for intelligent species. Lisa's voice was quiet. Think about it. Our navigation systems brought us here. We thought it was just a routine survey mission. But what if something was calling us here? Pete stood up and walked to the edge of the clearing. He looked out into the darkening forest. So we're not the first ones to crash here. Probably not, Lisa said. Jake thought about the voice and what it had said. It knew about Earth. It knew about human history. It's been studying us. But why study us? Lisa asked. Why not just attack right away? That was when they heard it. A sound like metal being torn apart. It came from deeper in the forest, where the rest of the ship had crashed. Something was destroying the wreckage. It's looking for something, Pete said. He raised his rifle and clicked off the safety. The sound stopped. The forest became very quiet. Even the singing leaves went silent. Then the voice came back. This time all three of them heard it. Clever little humans, it said. You gather together. You share information. You make plans. This is why your species interests me. Jake gripped his spear tighter. What do you want from us? I want to understand. You, the voice said. Most species I hunt are simple. They run or they fight or they hide. But humans do something different. You adapt. You learn. You change your behavior. Lisa stepped closer to the fire. You're studying us. We're an experiment to you. Yes. The voice said, I have consumed many species. Beings with great strength. Beings with powerful minds. Beings that lived for thousands of years. But none of them were quite like you. What makes us different? Jake asked. You are weak, the voice said. Your bodies are soft. Your lives are short. You have no natural weapons. By all logic, you should have died out long ago, but instead you conquered your world. You built machines. You traveled to the stars. How? Pete looked at Jake and Lisa. Should we be telling this thing about humanity? It already knows, Lisa said. It's been studying us for who knows how long, the voice continued. I have watched your species for many years. I have seen you fight wars. I have seen you build cities. I have seen you face impossible challenges. And always, you find a way to survive. Always you find a way to win. So what? Jake said. What does that mean for us? It means you are a puzzle, the voice said, and I enjoy puzzles. I will take my time with you. I will learn everything about what makes you special. And then I will consume you slowly, savoring. Every moment, something moved in the forest around them. Not just one thing, but many things. The sound of footsteps came from all directions. Heavy footsteps that made the ground shake. It's not alone, Pete said. He aimed his rifle at the trees. Of course not, the voice said. I am a devourer. We are many. We are ancient. We have been hunting since before your star was born. Jake could see shapes moving between the trees now. Tall shapes that walked on two legs but moved wrong. They had too many joints, too many angles. Looking at them made his head hurt. You cannot see us clearly, the voice said. Your minds are. Not built to understand our true forms, but you will learn. Oh yes, you will learn. One of the shapes stepped into the firelight. Jake's eyes tried to make sense of what he was seeing, but it was like looking at a puzzle with missing pieces. The creature was tall and thin and seemed to be made of shadow and sharp edges. Run, it said in a voice like breaking glass. Run. And hide, make this interesting for us. Pete fired his rifle. The energy blast hit the creature and passed right through it. The creature laughed. Your weapons cannot harm us, it said. Your science cannot explain us. Your courage cannot save you. But Jake was looking at Lisa. She was staring at her scanning device. Her eyes were wide with sudden understanding. Jake, she whispered, I think I know what they are. And I think I know how to fight them. The creatures started moving closer. The fire began to dim. And Jake realized that the real battle was just beginning. Lisa grabbed Jake's arm and pulled him toward the broken ship section. Inside now! She yelled. The three humans ran into the twisted metal remains of their transport. Pete slammed a piece of broken door behind them. It would not stop the creatures. But it made them feel safer. What did you find? Jake asked. He was breathing hard. The spear shook in his hands. Lisa looked at her scanning device. The screen showed numbers and patterns that changed every second. They're not completely real, she said. I mean, they exist, but not the way we exist. What does that mean? Pete asked. He was checking his rifle. The power indicator showed 18 shots left. They exist in multiple dimensions at once, Lisa explained. That's why they look wrong to us. That's why your energy blast went through it. We're only seeing part of them. Jake felt hope starting to grow in his chest. So they have weaknesses? Everything has weaknesses, Lisa said. Even these things. Outside the broken ship, they could hear the creatures moving around. Their footsteps made no sound, but somehow the humans knew they were there. The voices came from everywhere at once. You cannot hide from us, the devourers said. We can smell your fear. We can taste your thoughts. Come out and face your fate. Jake looked around the inside of the ship. Section. There were broken computers, torn seats, and pieces of metal everywhere. But Lisa was right. Humans were good at adapting. They were good at finding ways to survive. Pete, Jake said. What do you know about these creatures from a military point? Of view? Pete thought for a moment. They're hunters. They've been doing this for a long time. They're confident, maybe too confident. What do you mean? They could have killed us right away, Pete said. But they didn't. They want to play with us. They want to study us. That gives us time. Lisa was working with her device in some broken ship parts. I'm trying to build something that can affect multiple dimensions at once. If I can modify the ship's energy core, how long do you need? Jake asked. An hour. Maybe 2 if I'm careful. Jake looked at Pete. Can we keep them busy for 2 hours? Pete smiled. It was not a happy smile. We can try. The voice of the devourers came through the metal walls. You think you can escape us? You think you're simple. Minds can understand forces beyond your comprehension. Jake stood up and walked to the broken door. He opened it just enough to speak through the gap. "We understand more than you think." "Do you?" the voice asked. "Tell me, human. What do you understand?" Jake thought about everything Lisa had told him. About the creatures existing in multiple dimensions. About them being hunters who had done this many times before. About them being too confident. "I understand that you made a mistake," Jake said. The creatures went quiet. Even the singing leaves in the forest seemed to stop their music. "What mistake?" the voice asked. "You've been studying the wrong things about us," Jake said. "You looked at our history. You saw us as hunters and warriors. You saw us making tools and building cities. But you missed the most important thing." "And what is that?" Jake smiled. "You missed the fact that humans are really good at cheating." Before the creatures could respond, Jake threw his spear as hard as he could at the nearest shadow. The spear went through the creature just like Pete's energy blast had. But Jake was not trying to hurt it. He was trying to distract it. While the creature was looking at the spear, Pete fired 3 quick shots at the ground around it. The energy blasts hit the metal pieces Jake had scattered there earlier. The metal exploded into sharp fragments that flew in all directions. Some of the fragments passed through the creature, but some of them hit something solid. The creature made a sound like breaking glass and stepped backward. "They have physical parts in our dimension," Lisa said. "Not much, but enough." Jake ran to where his spear had fallen. He picked it up and looked at the creatures surrounding them. "You want to know what makes humans special? We don't fight fair, we don't follow rules, we use everything we can find to win." The creatures started moving closer, but now they moved more carefully. They were not as confident as before. "You cannot defeat us," the voice said. "We have consumed civilizations that were far more advanced than yours." "Maybe," Jake said. "But I bet those civilizations fought like civilizations. They probably had rules about war. They probably tried to be honorable." Pete was gathering pieces of metal from the ground. He started throwing them at the creatures. Most pieces went through them, but some hit solid parts. The creatures had to dodge and move. "We don't have rules," Pete said. "We fight like animals when we have to." Lisa was still working on her device. "Jake, I need more time. The energy core is damaged. I have to reroute the power through 3 different systems." "How much more time?" 30 minutes. "Maybe less if I skip the safety protocols." Jake looked at the creatures. There were at least 6 of them now. They were getting closer despite Pete's metal throwing. Their voices were getting angry. "You delay the inevitable," the Devourers said. "You only make your suffering last longer." "Good," Jake said. "I want to last longer. I want to be the most annoying prey you've ever hunted." Jake picked up a piece of broken computer equipment. It was heavy and had sharp edges. He threw it at the nearest creature. It went through the shadow part but hit something solid inside. The creature made an angry sound. "That's it," Jake said. "You're not completely in our dimension, but you're not completely out of it either. You have to keep part of yourselves here to affect our world." The creatures were getting frustrated. They started moving faster, trying to surround the humans. But Jake and Pete kept throwing things at them. Metal pieces, computer parts, chunks of broken seats. Most of the objects went through the creatures, but enough hit solid parts to slow them down. "This is not how prey behaves," the voice said. "Prey runs. Prey hides. Prey accepts defeat." "We're not prey," Jake said. "We're humans. We're the species that looked at every other predator on our world and said, 'Not today.'" Lisa's device started making a humming sound. "Almost ready. I think I can create a dimensional field that will force them to choose one dimension or the other." "What does that mean?" Pete asked. He was running out of things to throw. "It means either they become completely solid and we can fight them normally, or they become completely non-physical and can't hurt us." Lisa said. One of the creatures tried to rush forward. Jake swung his spear at it. The wooden shaft went through the shadow part, but the metal point hit something solid. The creature pulled back with a sound like tearing fabric. "You see?" Jake said to the other creatures. "We're not running. We're not hiding. We're not accepting defeat. We're figuring out how to win. The device in Lisa's hand started glowing. The humming sound got louder. The creatures seemed to sense that something was changing. What are you doing? The voice demanded. We're doing what humans do best, Jake said. We're adapting. We're learning. We're finding a way to turn your advantages into disadvantages. The creatures started moving backward. For the first time, they seemed uncertain. This is impossible. The voice said, You are primitive. You have no understanding of dimensional physics. You should not be able to affect us, Jake laughed. You're right, we don't understand dimensional physics, but we understand something else. We understand that everything can be broken if you hit it hard enough and in the right place. Lisa's device reached full power. The air around them started to shimmer like heat waves. The creatures began to look more solid, more real. Now, Lisa shouted. Pete raised his rifle. The creatures were no longer shadows. They were solid, physical beings. And they looked afraid. Your move, Jake said, raising his spear. The devourers looked different now that they were solid. They were tall and thin, with skin that looked like black metal. Their arms were too long and ended in claws that could cut through steel. Their faces had too many angles and their eyes glowed with a cold blue light. But for the first time since Jake had heard their voice, they looked worried. Pete fired his rifle at the nearest creature. The energy blast hit its chest and knocked it backward. Black blood splattered on the metal walls of the ship section. They bleed, Pete shouted. They can be hurt. The wounded creature looked down at its chest in surprise. It touched the black blood with one claw and made a sound like breaking glass. This is not possible, it said. We are beyond your weapons. We are beyond your understanding. Not anymore, Jake said. He charged forward with his spear. The creature tried to dodge, but it was not used to being solid. It moved too slowly. Jake's spear point drove deep into its side. The creature screamed and fell to the ground. The other devourers stepped back. They were looking at their wounded companion with something Jake had never seen in their eyes before. Fear, you should not be able to harm us, one of them said. We are the hunters, you are the prey. Things change, Lisa said. She was still holding her device. The humming sound was getting louder and the air kept shimmering. And you're about to learn something new about humans. Jake pulled his spear out of the wounded creature. More black blood flowed onto the ground. The creature tried to stand up but fell back down. It was hurt badly. We don't just adapt to survive, Jake said. We adapt to win, no matter what it takes. Two more devourers rushed forward at the same time. Pete shot one in the leg and it fell down. Jake dodged the other one's claws and hit it in the head with the wooden shaft of his spear. The creature stumbled backward. This is wrong, the voice said. But now it was not coming from just one creature. It was coming from all of them at once. This is not how the hunt works. You are supposed to run. You are supposed to hide. You are supposed to die. We tried running, Jake said. We tried hiding. It was boring. Lisa's device made a different sound. The shimmering in the air got stronger. The devourers looked around in confusion. What is happening to us? One of them asked. I'm learning about your biology, Lisa said. Every time you touch our dimension, my device scans you. Every time you become solid, I get more information. She showed them her device's screen. It was full of numbers and patterns that changed every second. You're not just hunters, she said. You're a hive mind. You share thoughts and experiences across multiple dimensions. That's how you stay coordinated. That's how you learn from each hunt. Jake understood what she meant. So when one of them learns something, they all learn it. Exactly, Lisa said. And right now, they're all learning something very uncomfortable. The devourers were backing away from the humans. The wounded one was still on the ground, bleeding black blood. The others kept looking at it with growing fear. They're learning that they can be hurt, Pete said. They're learning that they can lose. And that knowledge is spreading through their entire hive mind, Lisa added. Every devourer in the universe is feeling their fear right now. Jake saw the truth in the creature's glowing eyes. They were not just afraid for themselves. They were afraid for their entire species. "How many hunts have you won?" Jake asked them. "All of them," one creature said. "We have never lost. We have never failed." "Until now," Jake said. The creature shook its head. "This is temporary. You got lucky. You found a way to make us solid, but it will not last. When your device runs out of power, we will return to our natural state. We will hunt you properly then," Lisa smiled. "You're not thinking like a human." "What do you mean?" "You think this is about the device? You think this is about making you solid?" Lisa's eyes were bright with excitement. "But it's not. It's about something much more important." Jake began to understand. "It's about doubt." "Exactly," Lisa said. "You've spent thousands of years believing you were perfect hunters. You've never questioned whether you could lose. But now you know it's possible." The Devourers were silent. Jake could see them thinking, processing this new information. "And because you're a hive mind," Lisa continued, "that doubt is spreading to every member of your species. Right now, every devourer in the galaxy is wondering if they're really as powerful as they thought." One of the creatures tried to attack again. It moved forward with its claws extended. But it hesitated for just a moment, just long enough for Pete to shoot it in the chest. The creature fell down next to its wounded companion. "You hesitated," Jake said. "You doubted yourself." "We do not doubt," the creature said, but its voice was not as strong as before. "You just did," Pete said. "We saw it." The remaining Devourers looked at each other. Jake could see them communicating silently, sharing thoughts through their hive-mind connection. "This is what doubt looks like," Lisa said. "You're second-guessing yourselves. You're wondering if you should attack or retreat. You're questioning everything you thought you knew about hunting." Jake walked closer to the creatures. They stepped back from him. These beings who had conquered 1,000 worlds were backing away from one human with a crude spear. "We've done more than hurt you," Jake said. "We've given you something you've never had before, uncertainty." "And uncertainty is contagious," Lisa added, "especially in a hive mind." The creatures were communicating. "Faster now?" Jake could see the fear growing in their eyes. They were not just afraid of being hurt. They were afraid of what this meant for their entire species. "You cannot defeat us all," one of them said. "We are many. We are spread across the galaxy. Even if you kill us here, others will come, will they?" Jake asked. "Will they really?" "Because right now, every one of your kind is feeling what you're feeling. They're all learning that humans can fight back. They're all wondering if they should avoid our species instead of hunting us." The creature's eyes got wider. "You think you can scare us all?" "I think we already have," Jake said. Pete stepped forward, with his rifle ready. "And now we're going to do something that's never been done before." "What?" the creature asked. "We're going to beat you," Pete said. "We're going to win this fight. And every member of your species is going to feel it happen." The Devourers tried to run then, but they were still solid, still affected by Lisa's device. They moved slowly, clumsily. They were not used to being physical beings. Jake caught the first one with his spear. Pete shot the second one. Lisa grabbed a piece of metal from the ground and threw it at the third one. It was not a fair fight. The humans had all the advantages now. When it was over, all the Devourers were on the ground. Some were dead, some were wounded, but all of them were defeated. "How do you feel?" Jake asked the last surviving creature. "Impossible," it whispered. "This is impossible." "No," Jake said. "This is human." He looked at Lisa and Pete. They were dirty and tired and hurt, but they were smiling. They had done something that had never been done before. "Do you think the others felt it?" Pete asked. Lisa nodded. "They felt everything. Every moment of fear, every moment of doubt, every moment of defeat. It's all been shared through their hive mind." Jake looked up at the sky through the broken ship's hull. Somewhere out there, thousands of Devourers were learning that they were not invincible. They were learning that humans were dangerous. "Good," he said. "Let them learn. Let them all learn what happens when you put humans on the menu." The last Devourer closed its glowing eyes and went silent. The hunt was over. And for the first time in thousands of years, the hunters had lost. Jake sat on a piece of broken metal and looked at the dead devourers scattered around the clearing. Black blood stained the ground. The air still shimmered from Lisa's device, but the humming sound was getting quieter. "Is it over?" Pete asked. He was checking his rifle, only 5 shots left. "For now," Lisa said. She was studying her scanning device. "But look at this." She showed them the screen. Numbers and patterns flowed across it like water. But something was different. The patterns were changing, spreading outward in waves. "What are we looking at?" Jake asked. "Communication signals," Lisa said. "The Devourer hive mind is very active right now. Messages are flying between different parts of the galaxy." Jake felt a cold fear in his stomach. "Are they calling for help? Are more of them coming?" Lisa shook her head. "No, they're retreating. Look at these energy signatures. Devourer ships are leaving star systems all across this sector of space." Pete sat down next to Jake. "They're running away?" "It looks like it," Lisa said. "Our fight here sent shock waves through their entire species. They felt every moment of our victory. They felt what it was like to lose." Jake looked at his crude spear. The metal tip was stained with black blood. 3 days ago he had been a scientist studying peaceful alien worlds. Now he was a warrior who had helped defeat an ancient enemy. "So what happens now?" he asked. Before anyone could answer, they heard a new sound. It was high and thin, like a whistle, but it came from the sky. All 3 humans looked up. A ship was descending through the clouds. It was not like their crashed transport. This ship was bigger, sleeker, and covered in weapons. Military markings were painted on its hull. "That's a Earth Defense Force cruiser," Pete said. "How did they find us?" The ship landed in the forest nearby. Trees creaked and bent as it settled onto the ground. A few minutes later, soldiers in combat armor came walking through the trees. They carried heavy weapons and moved like they expected trouble. The lead soldier had captain's bars on his helmet. He looked around at the dead devourers in the blood-stained clearing. His eyes were wide behind his helmet visor. "Dr. Martinez?" the captain said. "I'm Captain Ryan Bell. We're here to rescue you." Jake stood up slowly. "How did you know where to find us?" "Your transport's emergency beacon activated 3 hours ago," Captain Bell said. "But that's not why we came." "What do you mean?" Captain Bell looked uncomfortable. "About 6 hours ago, every deep space monitoring station in human space started picking up massive energy signatures. Alien ships were moving throughout the galaxy. Big ships. Dangerous ships." Lisa held up her device. "The Devourers." "You know about them?" Captain Bell asked. "We fought them," Pete said. Captain Bell looked at Pete's damaged rifle and Jake's bloody spear. He looked at the 3 dirty, tired humans standing among the bodies of creatures that looked like nightmares. "You fought them?" he asked. "These things have been terrorizing the galaxy for thousands of years. Every intelligence agency in human space has files on them. They're supposed to be unstoppable." "They were," Jake said, "until today." Captain Bell activated a communication device on his wrist. "Command, this is Bell. You're not going to believe this, but the survivors actually engaged the hostiles. The Devourers appear to be neutralized." A voice crackled through the device. "Say again, Captain. Did you say the Devourers are dead?" "That's affirmative, Command. Multiple hostile bodies confirmed down. Survivors are in good condition and appear to have done one." There was a long silence from the communication device. "Captain," the voice finally said, "we're getting reports from across the galaxy. Devourer ships are withdrawing from dozens of star systems. They're abandoning hunting grounds they've held for centuries." Jake, Lisa, and Pete looked at each other. Their small fight on this forgotten world had changed everything. "There's more," the voice continued. "We're receiving communication attempts from several alien species. Races that have been hiding from the Devourers for generations. They want to know what happened. They want to know how the hunters were defeated." Captain Bell looked at the 3 survivors with new respect. "What exactly did you do here?" Lisa stepped forward. We did what humans do best. We refused to give up. We adapted. We found a way to win. But it's more than that, Jake added. We infected them with something they'd never experienced before. What? Captain Bell asked. Doubt, Pete said. Fear, the knowledge that they could lose. Jake picked up his spear and looked at it. This is just a stick with a piece of metal tied to it, but it represents something important. It represents the refusal to accept defeat. Captain Bell was quiet for a moment. Command wants to know if you'll come back to Earth for a debriefing. The military wants to understand what happened. Here. The scientists want to study these creatures. Of course, Lisa said. But I think the most important thing has already happened. What's that? Jake looked up at the sky where stars were starting to appear in the darkening atmosphere. Word is going to spread. Every intelligent species in the galaxy is going to learn that the Devourers can be beaten. That humans beat them. And next time, Pete added, we won't be unprepared. Next time, we'll be ready for them, Captain Bell nodded. The fleet is already mobilizing. New ships, new weapons, new tactics. Based on Dr. Wong's dimensional field research, our scientists think they can build better versions of her device. That's good, Lisa said, but the real weapon isn't technology. What is it? Attitude, Jake said. The Devourers thought they understood humans. They studied our past and saw us as primitive hunters. But they missed the most important thing about us. Which is? Jake smiled. We don't know when to quit. The rescue team helped them gather their few belongings and started walking toward the ship. As they left the clearing, Jake took one last look at the dead Devourers. You know what the funny thing is? He said to Lisa and Pete. What? Lisa asked. They were right about one thing. We are primitive compared to them. We do use crude tools. We are weak and short-lived. So? Pete said. So they forgot that sometimes the primitive species wins anyway. As they walked through the forest, Captain Bell's communication device crackled. Again, Captain, we're getting more reports. 3 more star systems have been abandoned by Devourer forces, and we're receiving a message from the Centauri Republic. They want to discuss a mutual defense treaty with Earth. Copy that, Command. Jake listened to the reports and felt something growing in his chest. Not pride, exactly, but satisfaction. The Devourers had put humanity on their menu. They had thought humans would be easy prey. They had been wrong. Captain, Jake said, when we get back to Earth, I want to volunteer for the defense force. You're a scientist, Captain Bell said. You're not trained for combat. Jake held up his bloody spear. I think I learned a few things about combat today, Pete laughed. We all did. Lisa was looking at her device again. The dimensional readings are stabilizing. The Devourers that escaped are definitely in full retreat. They're not just leaving this system, they're leaving this entire region of space. Good, Jake said. Let them run. Let them tell the rest of their species what happens when you mess with humans. As they reached the rescue ship, Jake took one last look at the alien sky. Somewhere out there, across the galaxy, ancient predators were learning a new emotion, fear, and somewhere else. Other species were learning that the Devourers could be defeated, that there was hope. Jake climbed aboard the ship and strapped himself into a seat. The spear lay across his lap. He would keep it, he decided. As a reminder that sometimes the hunted becomes the hunter, and sometimes the menu gets changed. The ship lifted off and headed for home, carrying 3 humans who had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Behind them, the alien world grew smaller and disappeared, but their story was just beginning.